Medina Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, MILE.
Shall we start?
Yes, we can start.
Oh, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Ali, for your great introduction about me. Hello, good evening and a warm welcome to everyone. Let me take this opportunity to thank Medina Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship for providing this wonderful platform to share my knowledge and experience on executive coaching and executive education. I'm so honored to be with you today. I thank you for taking time off from your busy schedules to participate in this webinar. I would like to share with you about my upcoming author book, 21 Success Sutras for CEOs. In this book, I have highlighted 21 leadership challenges encountered by CEOs globally. I got this trigger when I was delivering leadership development training programs for senior executives. And I am passionate about executive education and CEOs. Whenever I share my knowledge on CEOs, coaching, and leadership, I get excited, especially the kind of challenges the C-level leaders have overcome successfully. Additionally, my award-winning book titled 21 Success Sutras for Leaders, published by Pearson, was ranked as one of the top 10 leadership books by San Diego University, America for the year 2013. And I got overwhelming response from many CEOs across the world for this book. So they are the inspiration behind authoring this new book on CEOs. When you look at leaders like Jack Welch, the former CEO of General Electric, Alan Mulally, the former CEO of Ford, Carlos Ghosn, the CEO of the Renault Nissan, Daniel Eckerson, the chairman and CEO of General Motors, Shyam Palmisano, the former CEO of IBM, Alan George Lasley, the CEO of Procter & Gamble, Bill Gates, the former CEO of Microsoft, Steve Jobs, the co-founder of CEO of Apple, Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Group, Ed Kelleher, the co-founder and the former CEO of Southwest Airlines, and Lakshmi Nivas Mittal, the chairman and CEO of ArcelorMittal. They all encountered lots of leadership challenges in the turbulent business world and finally succeeded as CEOs. In fact, they have become legend. CEOs encounter innumerable leadership challenges to turn around and lead their organizations effectively. So in this webinar, I'm going to talk about 21 leadership challenges which the CEOs have encountered effectively, which will help the present CEOs and also the budding CEOs to overcome all these challenges to become great CEOs. Number one, sutra is communicate clearly. CEOs must articulate their vision effectively. Some CEOs start with the assumption that other people think the same way they do. Overcoming this mindset is really hard. The higher up the ladder you are, the more likely you must reach out to people who don't understand what you are doing or why you are doing it. Hence, there is an urgent need for CEOs to share their important information to all stakeholders to avoid ambiguity and to inspire others to accomplish their vision. Steve Jobs is an ideal example who communicated clearly with others. He was a great visionary. He knew where he wanted to go and how he would take his people there. He created visual images and used them to connect with his people effectively. He was a great speaker who communicated well and articulated his vision effectively to his people. Only when the vision is strong and well articulated can leaders expect to overcome their challenges to accomplish their goals. In fact, vision and communication go together. Leaders must be smart enough to set their own vision and they must be smart enough to articulate their vision. Then only they'll be able to achieve the goal. So, communicating clearly, the first sutra I have talked about. Now we'll move on to the second sutra, that is carry all stakeholders with you. Carrying all stakeholders, especially shareholders, board members, and customers, has become a major challenge for CEOs as the expectations are higher than the past. It is essential to make all stakeholders as winners, although it is tough to satisfy all stakeholders in the current context. John Mackey, the co-founder and co-CEO of Whole Foods, says, At Whole Foods, whenever we make a decision, we want it to work for all stakeholders. That means employees, customers, investors, suppliers, the community, the environment. Some CEOs have been fired as they could not please their board members and stakeholders, and especially the shareholders. And CEOs must be transparent while dealing with board members as they decide the fate of the CEOs. They must be careful to maintain good relations with all stakeholders, especially with board members who hold the key. There are some CEOs who have been fired because they couldn't comply with the board members. They couldn't keep the board members in good humor. For instance, Steve Jobs was an example who was fired. And of course, subsequently he was invited to lead Apple, and he led and turned around. Now we'll move on to the sutra number 3, that is emphasize on organizational culture. This is the third one. Culture connects employees to create an emotional bonding to improve organizational bottom lines. For instance, L.G. Lafley of Procter & Gamble and Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos.com, strove hard to connect people by emphasizing on organizational culture. Tony Hsieh spent 10 hours over the holidays taking customer calls. In fact, strategy and culture are two eyes of an organization, with the strategy as the guiding path while culture as the driving path. Balancing and blending these both will enhance CEO effectiveness. Tony Hsieh encouraged his employees to come up with their own ideas for building one organizational culture which worked out well. Zappos attracts the best talent. It recruits employees at the entry level. It trains and grooms the talent. It means there is a few number of experienced employees. Everyone must come out with new things once a week. It is noted for its amazing customer care and service. The recruitment process in Zappos is 2 rounds of interviews. First round covers the technical aspects, while the second round covers on cultural compatibility. It is prepared to lose the talent that is poor in cultural compatibility despite being rich in technical skills. It demonstrates its emphasis on organizational culture. The unique feature is that after the orientation, the company offers people $2,000 not to work at Zappos. It intends to keep the employees who fit into its culture with an emphasis on customer care and service. So it's obvious that culture holds the key to CEO success, and that is a trend prevailing now to emphasize on organizational culture, because that connects people together on one platform, and so that they'll be able to contribute their best to provide better customer care and service. Next thing is keep people before the profit. Ed Kelleher, the co-founder and former CEO of Southwest Airlines, valued people as people, not as workers. He emphasized on human resources to keep his company profitable for 30 years consecutively. In airline industry, the competition is cutthroat, where companies struggle to keep their profitability continuously for 5 years. But Herb Kelleher demonstrated his leadership abilities and won accolades internationally. Southwest started with 3 planes in 1971, and several experts wrote it off initially. Herb Kelleher proved his critics wrong and gave sleepless nights to his competitors, and finally made Southwest an inspiring story to the corporate world in America. The company has become a role model for other companies for its ability to sustain profitability. His employees are the highly compensated people in airline industry. He firmly believed in the philosophy of putting employees first, customers second, and shareholders third. He changed his leadership tactics without compromising basic strategy. His leadership slogan is, "Hey, wait a second, we value you as a total person, not just between 8 and 5. When you take care of your employees first, you'll be surprised that the profits will follow." He revealed, "We tell our people, don't worry about profit, think about customer service. Profit is a byproduct of customer service. It is not an engine or of itself." If you look at companies like Google and Virgin Group, they also believe in the slogan of employees first, customers second. That means when you keep your employees happy, they'll be able to deliver better goods, and they'll be able to make customers happy. So globally, the trend is changing towards making employees happier rather than giving more priority to customers, because once employees are happy, automatically they will make the customers happy. That is the trend which is taking, and the various CEOs have to learn and follow this kind of priorities. We'll now move on to the next one, that is be adaptable. The Dean of Leadership, Warren Bennis, once remarked that adaptability is the key factor for leadership effectiveness and success. Additionally, Charles Darwin quoted, "It's not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent that survives. It's the one that is the most adaptable to change." Adaptability is the key to CEO success in the current global business environment. Above all, the adaptability must be quicker to avail the prevailing global opportunities. There are a number of global companies that have survived because they changed with the changing times and technologies. So adaptability is the key factor, not only for companies but also for individuals, because we need to change with the changing times to stay relevant and to stay ahead of others. Acquire learning agility. Learning agility is knowing what to do when you don't know what to do or how to do. When it is blended with the ability to identify trends and predict future certainties and probabilities, it would make a successful leader. Hence, CEOs must acquire learning agility through executive education. Also, they must ensure that their employees are trained through leadership development training programs regularly. Additionally, there is a dearth of leadership talent in the leadership pipeline as the baby boomers are retiring globally. Hence, there is an urgent need for CEOs to spend enough time on talent acquisition, onboarding, development, and retention to avert any kind of organizational eventuality. Alvin Toffler once said, "The illiterates of the 21st century are not the people who can't read and write, but the ones who can't learn, unlearn, and relearn." That means it's very clear that we have to learn, and also we have to unlearn, and we have to relearn. So that means that becomes a part of, an integral part of learning agility. Now we'll move on to encourage innovation. Steve Jobs comes to our mind when we talk about innovation. He was a visionary leader, an inspirational leader, and above all a charismatic leader. He kept Apple healthy and strong by keeping competitors at a distance through his innovative and inspiring leadership. When the entire technological world got into the so-called PC wars, Steve Jobs took the path less traveled and became a trailblazer and a legend. He started as a small fish in a big pond and ultimately became a big pond of innovation and excellence. He rewrote the rules of business and changed the way technology worked. He made a big difference to the lives of people through his technological contribution. Steve Jobs was a college dropout like other famous corporate leaders, Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Larry Ellison, Michael Dell, and Mark Zuckerberg. Nobody expected that this college dropout would create history in the business world, but he did it through his unconventional strategies, unflagging determination, and perseverance. Nobody expected that the man who was fired from his job as a CEO would return and be in command for 14 years at a stretch and take his organization to such great heights. He was one of the iconic CEOs in the world and was a leader who always set high standards in innovation. He changed the way people use technology. See the big picture. Next one. CEOs must see the upcoming challenges from multiple perspectives with a big picture, and it needs business acumen. Seeing big picture can help avert organizational challenges to a great extent. They must be able to forecast the future demands of the customers and clients to create products and services accordingly. The visionary CEOs like Richard Branson and Lou Gerstner have the innate ability to see the big picture. They could see what could not be seen by others. In 1993, when Lou Gerstner took over as CEO of deeply troubled IBM, he said the company's mission was to survive. In his book, Who Says Elephants Can't Dance, he said that few people understood how dangerously close IBM came to running out of cash. As great leaders, acquire essence from the book by seeing the big picture. CEOs must acquire the lessons from the organization by seeing the big picture. Remember, as the book has many pages to read, the organization has many aspects to see. Equipped with technical and business acumen. CEOs must possess both technical and business acumen. When you look at steel tycoon Lakshmi Nivas Mittal, the richest British of Indian origin, he encountered innumerable challenges when he acquired Arcelor Steel. His business battle turned out to be a political one. He led from the front to overcome the leadership challenges successfully. He disclosed that he had to sleep in an overcoat and wash with hot water in a bucket when he went to Kazakhstan to buy a company in 1995. And many people were cynical when he bought the plant in Kazakhstan. The Wall Street Journal commented that Kazakhstan would be Mittal's Waterloo. He proved his critics wrong by displaying his business and technical acumen with his timely judgment. He adopted 3 strategies, that is, acquisition, first, second, growth, third, strategic alliances. He expanded the company from a wire rod manufacturer in Indonesia to the largest steel producer in the world, largely through an acquisitive strategy. He earned reputation as a doctor of 6 steel mills. He made several bold decisions, including the closure of 2 glass furnaces in Florange plant in France. It received hostile response from important stakeholders. He had to make the decision due to the drop in demand. Likewise, he encountered several leadership challenges to consolidate steel industry globally. Overcome VUCA. VUCA means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. The CEOs must be prepared to overcome this VUCA because the globe has become highly volatile. The global business environment is highly dynamic and challenging. The competition is cutthroat. You must run a little faster than everybody else to keep your lead. It's tough to predict the very next moment as there is uncertainty everywhere and there is no guarantee that decisions that you make will definitely deliver fruitful results. In 2011, Carlos Ghosn, the CEO of the Renault-Nissan Alliance, a strategic partnership between French car maker Renault and the Japanese automaker Nissan, had to confront several crises simultaneously, including the devastating earthquake and tsunami in Japan and flooding in Thailand, all of which hit the company supply chain hard. Ghosn responded actively to these events, in particular by giving increased authority and decision-making powers to people in factories that suffered the worst damage. Hence, CEOs must be equipped with both business and technical acumen to change their strategies from time to time, keeping pace with the rapid changing technologies. Manage time. Prioritizing and managing time is a big challenge for CEOs. Due to the rising expectations and aspirations from all sources, there is a constant pressure to do many things within a fixed time period. Stephen Covey highlighted the significance of time management as put first things first, which is one of the habits in his groundbreaking book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Using time judiciously helps plan and manage activities effectively. It helps minimize pressure and maximize pleasure. It eliminates stress and ensures work-life balance. Most people are aware that time is more than money, as money can be earned, but lost time cannot be regained. So how to manage time is $1 million question. CEOs must learn to prioritize tasks so that they focus on important activities rather than insignificant ones. They must discover and tune their biological clock and allocate time appropriately to reap rewards. They must use their travel time productively. For instance, Jeff Immelt of General Electric and Jeff Bezos of Amazon use their travel time effectively. Conquer stress. Stress has become a major challenge for CEOs. CEOs don't find time to reflect on holiday. In fact, a little bit of reflection every day is essential to be more productive. What is the use of achieving success when there is no meaning to life? Because of cutthroat competition, CEOs are under constant pressure from all stakeholders. This pressure is often passed on to the lower levels, resulting in lower productivity and performance. There are some tips for CEOs to bust their stress. Solitude is fortitude. Go to a certain place and sit quietly. Don't allow any thoughts to enter your mind. Suspend your thoughts and bring your mind to peace and tranquility. You enjoy the power of silence and fresh and mental energy. Enjoy journey towards your destination rather than think about enjoying after reaching your destination, because you have only one life to enjoy. Learn to balance both pressure and pleasure. Listen to music as it relieves you from work pressures. Things often don't happen the way you plan. Hence, keep multiple alternate plans ready to bail you out and prevent you from getting stressed out. Delegate your work. Pursue hobbies and passions other than your work. Hobbies unwind your creativity, providing you joy and happiness. Having one or two hobbies is essential to provide meaning to your life, as money and success is not everything. When you look at modern management guru, Peter Drucker, he led his life completely by pursuing the hobbies that were close to his heart. He pursued his passions such as writing, consultancy, and teaching, and also hobbies such as mountain hiking and swimming. He balanced everything in his life: work, hobbies, and passions. He led his life completely without having any regrets at the end. It's ironical that people earn a lot of money and then spend most of it on stress-related diseases. They must learn to strike a balance between pressure and pleasure. They must be able to balance their personal, professional, and social life. Avoid information overload. Previously, people craved for acquiring information. Presently, people avoid too much of information. It looks very strange, but it's a fact. It has become a problem of plenty presently due to the advent of internet technology. Lots of information is bombarded online and people find it tough to choose the accurate and authentic information. Jim Collins advocated stop doing list in his award-winning book Good to Great like this. Most of us lead busy but undisciplined lives. We have ever-expanding to-do lists, trying to build momentum by doing and doing more. And it rarely works. Those who build the good to great companies, however, made as much use of stop doing lists as to-do lists. He cautioned, if you have more than 3 priorities, you don't have any. Hence, CEOs must check information overload and be careful in choosing the accurate information to avoid complexity and confusion. Learn when to hold and fold. CEOs must demonstrate flexible fortitude. They must know when to hold and fold. It helps cut down the cost and manage time. However, it is tough to judge when to hold and fold. It requires clarity in goal setting and prioritizing the activities as per the organizational principles and philosophies. It requires extraordinary gut and intuition to let go and move on. It's a dilemma whether to follow your head or heart while making decisions. Although it's a well-admitted fact that nobody can control events, the CEOs must act wisely as per the situation to decide when to hold and fold. At the workplace, the superiors find it tough to fight the hired employees for their inefficiency and rotten attitudes. They are in dilemma whether to fire such incompetent employees or to retain them to improve their attitude and efficiency. Things like this are hard to decide whether to hold or fold such employees. It is observed that people stick to the projects that don't deliver any outcomes. They realize at the end that they wasted their precious time. Be bold to lead in turbulent times. The present global business environment demands not only soft leaders but also hard leaders. When time is good, anyone can be at the helm of affairs. When the sailing is rough, the real leaders and CEOs come to the forefront to sail the ship successfully to the shore. Abraham Lincoln is an apt example of a leader who led America during the turbulent times. When America had 2 challenges of slavery and the Civil War, Lincoln demonstrated his leadership acumen by managing all stakeholders, including his political rivals, effectively to abolish slavery and ensure unity of America. It is for this reason many leaders look up to Lincoln whenever they encounter leadership challenges, irrespective of their political ideologies and countries. Adapt locally to grow globally. It is essential for CEOs to eat the cake and have it too. They must emphasize on growth and expansion both locally and globally, and it's a very big challenge as the expectations and aspirations of local and global customers and clients are often different. Only when you grow locally, you'll be able to grow globally. Next, appreciate diversity. Appreciate the fact that the world is small and getting smaller. Every day there are more ways to connect physically and virtually. Additionally, rapid growth in technology has become both a boon and bane for CEOs. Currently, people from different communities and countries work under the same roof to accomplish organizational goals and objectives. There is an urgent need to understand various cultures to develop cultural intelligence and competence. Practice continuous dissatisfaction means taking time to celebrate accomplishments but never getting complacent about them. Be prepared mentally that some competitor is always entering into your business. It also means that there is no room for complacency in the current dynamic global business scenario. Instead of resting on laurels, the CEOs must deliver their goods effectively up to the satisfaction of all stakeholders. In a nutshell, CEOs must always think of what next to move forward aggressively. In my life, I believed in three things which are responsible for my growth. That is, don't be in a one place. That means keep changing from one place to another place, because when you stay in one place, you will be in comfort zone. When you are in comfort zone, you will never be able to grow. So you have to change the place. And when you change the place, what happens? You meet new people, you acquire new knowledge, and you start respecting people, you develop more tolerance. That's one thing. Second thing, not to be lazy. That means you have to work hard. Just because you are successful, you can't relax yourself. You must keep working hard to grow in your life. Third thing, never get satisfied. That means if you are satisfied, that's the end of the life. So you should always raise your bar in order to grow in your life. These three are the principles that has made me to grow as a leadership guru internationally. The first one is not to stick to one place, keep changing and going all around to develop tolerance and to acquire knowledge. Second thing is to work hard and smart. Third thing is not getting contented. The next one is encounter economic decline. Companies around the world need to act in collaboration as we move forward with opportunities. Ensuring sustainability of businesses is an imperative. In fact, CEOs are more concerned about sustainability of their business since 2009 due to global financial crisis. It threw a few globally respected companies into near bankruptcy, including General Motors and Citigroup. The CEOs who are on the offensive mode started to become defensive to ensure sustainable.
Apparently, I think we have lost the speaker's voice. Let me try to find out. Audience. My apologies for this inconvenience. Let me see.
Yeah, shall I proceed?
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
Hello? Okay, there was some problem here, technical problem. Okay, internet problem. Okay. So next one, slide number 20. Stay away from status quo. CEOs must avoid the basic models and systems that worked in the past, because what worked in the past and present might not work in future as the times and technologies are changing rapidly. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos avoided clinging to status quo. He is a visionary leader with clarity in his approach who believes more in written words. He turned selling books online into a multi-dollar business that has changed the retailing forever. Hence, CEOs must set bold and wed new tools and techniques to stay ahead of times and technologies. Invest in future. This is the 21st Sutra for CEOs. Provide leadership development training programs to employees regularly. It helps them perform well to grow as leaders. For instance, Jack Welch, who led the GE from 1981 to 2001, shared his experiences through training programs. Initially, he spent 60% of his time meeting people, thinking about people, understanding people, reviewing people, hiring people, and interviewing people. ArcelorMittal, the biggest steel company in the world, conducts leadership development programs to its employees. It treats leadership as an integral part. It develops the next generation leaders through initiatives such as ArcelorMittal University's Leadership Academy and the Global Employee Development Program. Previously, it was the machine behind the man counted, but presently it's the man behind the machine counts. Adopt different leadership tools and techniques. Various CEOs have adopted leadership tools and techniques to turn around and grow their companies based on their mindsets and leadership principles and philosophies. The challenges were different and the way they handled them was also different. Lou Gerstner turned around IBM and brought it to good shape. And Sam Palmisano took IBM from good to great with his leadership style by overcoming several leadership challenges. For instance, at the height of the dot-com bust in 2002, he acquired the consulting arm of the accounting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers and stepped up investments in R&D, which was considered a wrong move. But he proved his critics wrong by leading from the front with his business and technical acumen. He invested his capital into businesses with high returns to improve the organizational bottom lines. He bought small companies that paid high returns. He compressed working capital to get more returns. Alan Mulally, a turnaround hero. Alan Mulally worked as an engineer and became an executive vice president of Boeing. He had no previous experience in automobile industry, but was headhunted by Bill Ford. The chairman of Ford to turn around Ford, and hence it is obvious that the industry in which the leader worked doesn't have much relevance to lead as a CEO for another industry, as long as the leader has a proven consistent track record. What is essential is to have an experience as a CEO. At times, the problems of most companies remain almost the same. Hence, the experience as a CEO in one industry helps greatly in another industry. Lou Gerstner, a turnaround hero. John Spence, in his book, Awesomely Simple, Essential Business Strategies for Turning Ideas into Action, shares about turning around IBM as follows. Lou Gerstner, who ironically took over the new CEO on April Fool's Day in 1993, is straightforward and clear, completely changing the culture toward transparency, teamwork, customer focus, and extremely fast action. From his study of the situation and personal experience working inside the company, it seems to him that the turnaround was based on 4 strategies. Create strong collaborative partnerships with customers and sustain an intense focus on the marketplace. Drive unique value and growth through innovation and offering value-added solutions rather than products. Invest heavily in finding, keeping, and developing the best people and keep them focused on furthering our core competencies. Leverage the skills and knowledge of those people through collaboration, communication, teamwork, and a strong sense of urgency. How did this work for IBM? Between 1991 and 1993, IBM lost a breathtaking $16 billion. In what was termed the most remarkable turnaround of any company ever, IBM reported a net income of $7.58 billion on revenues of $89.13 billion 10 years later in 2003. The ideas that Lou Gerstner used to turn around one of the largest companies on the face of the earth are not complex. They merely require focused effort and disciplined execution. There are a number of CEOs who shifted their industry, but still they have succeeded, like Alan Mulally. James Stroke, in his book How to Lead Your Transformational 21st Century Leadership System, shares the inspiring story of Eisenhower like this. After the First World War, Eisenhower's skills as a manager were applied at high levels in other domains. He served the first Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, forging the NATO alliance. He served as the President of Columbia University. ultimately served as President of the United States. In each task, he did not have technical acumen. He had not been a professor any more than he had been a battlefield commander. He had not been a party politician or previously sought elective office. Eisenhower's singular management skills enabled him to elicit extraordinary performance from complex organizations and networks, including in the face of existential challenges. The present CEOs must be jack of all trades and master of one domain, that is business acumen, to succeed. Are CEOs timber from a different tree? Yes, CEOs read a lot of books like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, The Essential Drucker by Peter Drucker, Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson, Losing My Virginity by Richard Branson, Art of War by Sanju, or The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. They read a lot of books. They look up to leaders from all areas. For instance, they look up to business leaders, Jack Welch for extroversion and efficiency, Steve Jobs for innovation and excellence, and Richard Branson for flamboyance and risk-taking. At the same time, they look up to political leaders, Abraham Lincoln for team spirit and transparency, Mahatma Gandhi for sincerity and simplicity, Winston Churchill for persuasion and motivation, Nelson Mandela for struggles and sacrifices, Ronald Reagan for courage and communication. They look up to other leaders, Mother Teresa for compassion and contribution, and Dalai Lama for charisma and commitment. Among all these leaders, Abraham Lincoln holds great reverence among CEOs for overcoming the biggest challenges in American history. In fact, Abraham Lincoln is my inspiration in my lifetime because he rose from humble origins and he encountered a lot of challenges in his life. He failed in business, he failed in politics, he failed as a lawyer, but ultimately succeeded and became the first Republican president and the 16th president of America. Now coming to the conclusion, the role of CEO is not a bed of roses as viewed by outsiders. In contrast, it's a bed of thorns thrown with loads of unexpected challenges from all quarters from time to time. At times, CEOs find themselves between conflicting demands and are subject to an endless series of paradoxes and dilemmas. Hence, as a CEO, you must listen to your inner voice, do what is good ethically with a long view. To conclude, you can win the hearts of your employees with healthy HR practices and the wallets of your customers with constant care and continuous improvement of service. You can excel as an exceptional CEO. Here is my message to the CEOs. If you keep your employees happy, they will keep your customers happy. Happy customers improve your organizational bottom line. Hence, value your employees to add value to your company and to grow as a great CEO. Here are the
Unfortunately, same technical error happened again, perhaps. So let me send Professor Rao. I'm sending you, sir, the PIN code again. Evidently, we have lost your voice again, so sir, please insert the code which I've just shared, enabling you to keep your audio audible for us.
interesting one. So that is the one you are talking about is the Melinda Gates Foundation. Along with Warren Buffett, it was started to do something for society. So now even that is part of, that's one of the part that has to be taken care of by the CEOs, like, non-profits that comes under the category of non-profits. That means environment, we take care of people, planet, 3 P's are there. So the CEOs are also conscious about not only profits but also people and planet. 3 P's it's known as. First is people, second is planet, then third is profit. This is how it is. So now what you're talking is about people. That means CEOs must take responsibility towards society. That's what you call it as corporate social responsibility. And some of the people, they are taking initiative, and it's also a part of the responsibility the CEOs have got. Like, CEOs are accountable for employees, then shareholders, board of directors, then investors, then also they are accountable to society through social responsibility. So things are going on in that way. So do you have any other question? Hello?
Yes, Dr. Muhammad, do you have any supplementary?
No.
Okay.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I just thought. That's fine. I understand. Like, just thought the trends coming up, like the CEOs more not focusing on the profit bill, but also the social embedded concept. But thank you very much. I could understand what you meant. Like, thank you very much. Thanks, Ali, for giving me the option.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doctor, for the question. Let me move to another question. There's a question in the question box. We have a question from Brother Farzuhan Marlin. The question is, how do you get the CEO and the leadership team of a company to adapt to a leadership model?
Could you repeat that question, Ali, if you don't mind?
Okay. The question is, how do you get the CEO and the leadership team of a company to adapt to a leadership model?
See, I have already started the very first point, that is you set a vision and articulate it effectively. When we talk about Steve Jobs, he was very smart in setting a vision and articulating it effectively. So the CEOs can build a very good team and convey their leadership models, provided they set their vision properly and they build a very good team, and they can align the team according to the vision of the company by articulating it effectively. So that is the reason why I started the first point, that is communicate clearly. So when that is done, that's the reason why I addressed the very first slide talks about communicate clearly. So when CEOs can communicate effectively to their team members, then definitely they can convey their leadership models and they can get the things done, and everything will be smooth. Okay? Are you happy with the question? Are you happy with my response? Or
well, this is interactive questions.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Hello? We can hear you. We can hear you. Well answered, sir. Let me move to another question we have from Brother Mr. Mohsen Lodi. The question is, what qualities a leader has to embrace to become adaptable? The qualities a leader has to embrace to become adaptable.
To be adaptable, right? How a leader can be adaptable, right? That is the question. Hello?
Yeah.
How a leader can be adaptable? You mean to say that?
The qualities a leader should have or embrace to become adaptable. What qualities?
Yeah. See, to be adaptable, leader has to have the learning agility. I have highlighted one point. One of the 21 points I have highlighted is learning agility. When the leader has already highlighted that point also, thanks for asking the questions, which are very much relevant to the 21 points I have already raised. So one of the points I talked about is learning agility. When the leaders are open to learning, then they are agile to learning, then they understand and appreciate the environment and they start changing themselves. That means they start learning, they start unlearning, and they start relearning. So when they are open to learning, then definitely they will change themselves and they become adaptable. Like, Warren Bennis once said, adaptable is the key thing for any organization. If the organization is not adaptable, it is going to die. Similarly, individual also will die if he doesn't adapt, right? And even Charles Darwin also said the same thing. It's not the most intelligent will survive in this world, but the most adaptable to change will survive in this world. So to be adaptable, the leader must have an open mind, and he must have the learning agility. Then over a period of time, you'll be able to cultivate the art of adaptability, and you'll be able to get the things rolling. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Are you convinced with my response?
Professor, these are the questions posted in the question box. So folks, if you are satisfied, please do respond in the question box or throw a supplementary one. We'll be happy to read them over again on your behalf. Let me move to another question from Mr. Hamindra Rahteta. The question is, how to integrate different departments, business units, and influence them, raising from departmental objective performance to the performance of organization as a whole, or how to carry all stakeholders together.
Yeah, even this point was also there. Carry all stakeholders. This is one of the points I have already raised. See, to communicate, to integrate all business units. Okay, what we need to have is we need to have we need to emphasize on organizational culture. As I have already told in my webinar, organizational culture binds people together. Yes, we belong to one company, one organization, we have one culture. Like Tony Hsieh of Zappos.com, he emphasized on this organizational culture. So because of that, you know, the company is good globally. Tony Hsieh of Zappos.com I was talking about. So like this, you know, most of the companies, they started realizing that it is essential to emphasize an organizational culture so that people can be brought under one platform and things can be rolled out smoothly. So whatever the unit people may be there, maybe X unit or Y unit or Z unit or A unit or whatever it is, marketing or HR, production, whatever it is, whatever the units, the leaders are spread out or the employees are spread out, they can be brought under one roof and they can be led very easily if the organization emphasizes on organizational culture. That's one point. Second thing is, we need to connect all stakeholders together. In the sense, internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. If we can integrate them effectively, then definitely we will be able to achieve the organizational goals and objectives.
Okay.
Are you convinced with my response?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And Mr. Amindra is also satisfied. He is appreciating. So let me move to another question, sir. As a CEO coach, what suggestions do you provide to the young CEOs of today?
Young CEOs. Okay. As a CEO coach, what suggestions can I give it to young CEOs, right?
This is
So
exactly
what I would like to tell all, whether it's young CEO or whether they are budding entrepreneurs or young CEOs, what I would like to say is that you must take risk and you must value people as people. That means you should follow the priority in this manner. First, you have to emphasize on people. That means employees, then customers, then shareholders. That's how the process should start. That means when these young CEOs can emphasize on people first, then customers second, then shareholders third. This is how the priority, if it goes on, definitely they will be able to achieve their success. This is what I share with many leaders in various training programs. I hope I have responded to that. And apart from this, you know, these young CEOs must be willing to take risks, and they must be adjusted to VUCA. That means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. VUCA, that is VUCA, has become a quite common jargon across the globe. So these young CEOs must be prepared for this volatility, complexity, ambiguity, so that, you know, they'll be able to manage and they'll be able to lead during the turbulent times. Next question.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. Yes, sir. We have one last question, as we are really pressed on the time, so appreciate a quick answer. This question is interesting. How to win the hearts of your employees with healthy HR practices and the wallets of your customers with constant care and continuous improvement of service?
Your question is how to win the employees, right?
Win the employees. How to win the employees from?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I'm here. How to win the employees, right?
How to win the hearts of employees through HR practices and the wallets of your customer with the continuous improvement of service and customer care.
Yeah. So, see, ultimately it boils down to three factors. That means when you value people as people, then definitely the employees will put their head and heart and work for the growth of the organization. And when you emphasize on particular organization culture, then what happens? They will come under one platform. Two, then if you can involve employees in the decision making by empowering, then what happens, they will feel that they are part of the organization. When the employees feel that they are the part of the organization, they will come forward and work wholeheartedly, thinking that yes, it's my organization, I have to contribute. So when CEOs can create such kind of ambience, that means bringing employees, that means respecting employees as employees, like Kerb Helleher of Southwest Airlines, he did the same only. He was successful. Even Tony Hsieh of Jeffco's is successful because of that. Because there, if you look at Richard Branson of Virgin, he respects employees because he says, for me, employees are first, then comes customer. So if you can value the employees and if you can empower them into the decision making, and if you can overcome this whole concept of command and control setup, the customers, these employees will feel that they are part of the institution and they will think that they are the stakeholders and they are the partners. Then they will work, they will come forward and work happily. Then over a period of time, they will be able to integrate with the system. Then they will be able to deliver better goods to the customers, and customers will be happy. When customers happy, then that improves the organizational bottom line, and ultimately the shareholder will be very happy.
Okay.
I hope I have responded to your question.
Yeah,
Shall we move on to the next one?
Well, so thank you very much. That really brings us towards the end of the webinar. Unfortunately, we have to conclude it here. So any concluding remarks that you would like to give before we dismiss out, sir?
So definitely, see, really it's a great webinar. We had only little technical problem here, and I want to thank Mile for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share my thoughts on CEOs and executive education. And I thank you, Ali, for providing me this great opportunity. And I also thank Rovaida for her kind heart and great support. And I wouldn't be in Mile community without her. So I thank her once again for her professionalism and positive attitude. And I thank everyone for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share my thoughts. And I wish you good luck. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you very much, and I would also like to thank you, Professor, on behalf of MILE, the Medina Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, and thank you all of those who participated in this webinar and for posting interesting questions and making it an interactive experience for all of us. We are recording this webinar, which will be uploaded on MILE Community in the next couple of days. You can always download the soft copy of the presentation illustrated by Professor Rao on this webinar through community.mile.org. The complete link was broadcasted on the chat console, so you can click and download it right away.
Medina Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, MILE.